Alright class, for our final little mini lecture of today is the brief segment I like to call Empires of Biblical Lands. Specifically, I want to focus on the Hittites and the Israelites. These are one very large empire and one very small empire. And I call them the Empires of the Biblical Lands kind of for a lack of a better term. I suppose I could have called them Empires of the Mediterranean coast. It didn't quite roll off the tongue the same way. So, in any event, here it is. So the Hittites. The Hittites are an Indo-European people. That means they speak a language that has similar roots to Latin and Greek and whatnot. At the height of their power, their empire extended from the Black Sea as far south as Syria, and from the coast of the Mediterranean to the Tigris River. So a fairly large empire. They were extremely popular during the late Bronze Age, and they fought with Egypt for supremacy in Western Asia. Specifically, the Hittites fought with Ramesses II during a series of incredibly long, brutal wars, which both societies claimed as victories and which ultimately just exhausted both the Hittites and the Egyptians, leading to the total collapse of the Hittites. Now, one of the big innovations of the Hittites was their military and their chariots. Besides being exceptional metalsmiths, the Hittites were also one of the earliest people to experiment with what was called a three-man chariot. So the Egyptians used a Canaanite chariot, which, as you can see here, features two individuals, a charioteer and an individual who would then ride a sort of a soldier, a fighter. In this case, in this image, it's a pharaoh holding a sword. But in many other cases, as you can see in the chariot behind them, it's an archer. The Hittites used a three-man chariot, which is only known to be used by three types of societies. The Hittites, the Trojans, and the Philistines were the only three people that used this type of chariot. And what made it unique was that it had a driver, an archer, and a spearman. And so it was a very unique sort of innovation, this idea of a three-man chariot. Now, the other empire I want to talk about is the Davidic and Solomonic Empire, as to say, ancient Israel. So, most people tend to think of, most people think of the history of the Jewish people and the history of Israel. They tend to think of a group of individuals that have sadly not had the best luck in all of civilization. Sort of the ones who everyone conquers and everyone mistreats. But there was a brief period during the early days of ancient Israel when Israel was technically an empire. And this was under Solomon and David. Under Solomon, it was included with the dual monarchy of Israel and Judah, as well as the neighboring areas of Edom, Moab, Aram, and the lands of the Amalekites, as well as what's called the Philistine coast. Now, it also featured the first navy the Israelites had, which were composed of what the Bible terms as Tarshish ships, which means that they are Phoenician, because Tarshish was a Spanish Phoenician colony, and these would have most likely been the kind of long-range ships that the Phoenicians would have used to travel to that port. And this is what Israel's first navy was composed of. Now, compared to the other empires on this list, it's pretty small. The Empire of Solomon is only slightly larger than modern Israel today. So again, maybe it's a little bit larger than New Jersey. At most, maybe you're the size of New York. It's still pretty small compared to the massive empires we've been talking about, but still interesting to look at. And so that's sort of been our lesson. So there's an assignment you're going to see attached to these three videos, so please do it, and have a wonderful day.